Back with another episode. Diced up, courtside, whatever we're doing at the Final Four. We're actually recording this the day after one of the greatest basketball games I've ever seen. Caitlin Clark slayed the dragon. Absolutely beautiful. We have a returning guest, head coach of Florida State, Brooke Wyckoff. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Happy to be here.
Yes, thank you guys for having us. It's fun to just, talk about the game and just be in the middle of all the excitement.
Yeah, it took us a while to get started here. I think we're all kind of decompressing.
Yeah.
We already watched the game back once, by the way. We got home.
I'm
after.
so jealous. I want to watch it again too. So cool.
A lot of drinks and frozen pizza made at the Airbnb last night.
Waters.
Yes,
waters.
exactly. So cool.
But so we had an amazing time last night, and I think it's gonna be a little weird because this will come out later. But we gotta talk about what happened last night, Coach.
Yes.
What
Cannot.
how did it feel in your eyes watching it?
Well, first of all, it's just so fun. I was watching it in one of the bars here in the hotel, and just the environment, the atmosphere in there as we watched this all unfold, and just that you didn't want to take your eyes off the TV, and just how the crowd and everybody, and that's the thing that's so cool is the media coverage, the fan excitement, the exposure, everybody's talking about this women's tournament and that game and those two teams and those players. It's so fun as a person that's, been in women's basketball all my life to see that happening and continuing to grow. That's the coolest part. But wow, what a game. What a game.
I do want to throw it back because I think there's a lot of our listeners who are not going to know the comparison that you made before we got on the podcast in terms of who Caitlin kind of reminded you of in terms of how she played last night.
Yeah, so I referenced Jackie Stiles, who played for what is now Missouri State. Yeah. And she and I are the same year, and so she literally took her team on her back and they made the Final Four against all odds, and she was the same type of player in terms of she was a prolific scorer, and to see someone do that, credit to Iowa's players, and they've got an amazing roster, but Caitlin Clark, she basically takes the team on her back and brings them to this level in this, and the game has grown. There's a lot more amazing players and teams now. It's harder to do than it was back then, but Jackie Stiles did the same thing, made history, and we're watching Caitlin Clark do it, and today it's amazing.
Unreal.
For me, it's when we have no number one seeds left in the final.
Yeah.
You have the best defense of all time, give up 41 for the first time in our 30 that's era. So
I believe it's since 1991. It's a 1990 something number
right.
for when this happened last in South Carolina.
Okay, yeah.
And
wow.
Talk about someone sees in a moment, doesn't get nervous,
yes.
owns the stage.
Yes.
It's cinema,
Yes. Yes.
And I don't want to say she's saving a sport because it doesn't need saving.
No,
but it's one of those once in a generation type of players that is capturing the month of March, and I'm so happy to be here for the ride.
Yeah, exactly. She's propelling the sport. She's continuing to, and so many players have done that over the years, of course. But, to see, that someone else take that step and to watch it unfold before our eyes, like you said, is just, it's so fun. And it is. She rises to the moment. You love to see, there was so much hype around the game and her. I can't imagine, any athlete in that situation, and then to see them just rise to it and exceed any expectation. It's amazing. So fun.
And as you watched the games last night, I'm curious from you as a coaching perspective, because obviously you guys are always keeping tracks on the trends of this game and where people are going and where the best teams are playing. That you want to be there someday.
Yes.
Someday soon, right?
Yes.
So you're looking at these teams and seeing the trends. When you see a player like Caitlin Clark, a player like Georgia Amor, where they're just kind of pulling up from everywhere, and then contrasted with the other two teams in South Carolina and LSU who really love to get it down low and run through the post. What are your takeaways in terms of how can this apply to my team, and how can we kind of take a next step understanding what they did?
Absolutely. I think it really we're in the ACC. We were talking about how we're going to talk about the ACC. And the style, I think that, in basketball in general is going towards, shooting more threes, spreading the floor a little bit. You don't see that as much in teams like LSU and South Carolina. The SEC, and we played Georgia in the first round of the national of the tournament. And the SEC, they've got those usually two powerful post players. They're looking to pound it inside, which is really scary to guard as well. It's a strategy. It's a way to play. And I think to be successful in that conference, you've got to be like that. So there's a million ways to skin a cat, as we all know. But I love where, the game is going in terms of, obviously, we want to see scoring. We want to see kids hitting threes, making shots, being able to have that space to play. I think, that's where we're trying to be at Florida State. And, it's hard to get two good big posts, you know what I mean? So credit to the SEC and those teams, how they get those amazing players. But, we're trying to get some space and pace.
And so is that kind of because you're in the ACC? Because, I'm trying to think now, ACC is not really, is there a two-post team?
The ACC, this is what we encounter, which is so, there's usually, obviously you have amazing centers. You have Elizabeth Kitley, for example. Yeah. But then you have that 4 players spot. So those are players like a Destiny Harden, I know, right? I said that for you. And, an Utsby at UNC, a Taylor Soule at Virginia Tech, a Maddie Westbeld at Notre Dame. They're 4 players. But are they? What are they? They can shoot, they can penetrate, they're big, they're strong, they rebound. They might be a 3 player, they might be a 5 player. That is what we see, and those kids are usually, they can be on the perimeter. They can post up, but they're not really in there taking up space with the other 5 player. So that's where we really, worry about our biggest matchup issue is that 4 spot of, are we going to be able to guard that person? And it's a lot easier when that 4 player can't shoot and you can just sit in the paint. Yeah. And in the ACC, that's very rare.
Yeah, and for South Carolina, they got around that by having their 4 player be one of the best players, the best centers you've ever seen.
They got around it.
Yeah, it was a good workaround for them, and LSU's figuring it out too.
Yeah.
But I find it really interesting that kind of clash of styles, and kind of how your conference gets you ready.
Yes.
I thought it was so interesting last night seeing the 2 matchups, and we were so wrong about what was going to happen in both those games.
Right.
And I'm like, it's so difficult to read, especially with all of the assets that these coaches have in terms of prepreration. It's like, I don't even know. It was just so great watching both games.
Yes.
I know Dano.
My heart was broken in the first game.
Why?
I do a little bit with the betting stuff and give advice to people. And I told people Virginia Tech is way undervalued. No one respects them as a 1 seed.
Agreed.
And I thought they were super hot at the right time, and they played well for 30 minutes.
Yes.
And then, I feel like LSU has been playing so slow this entire tournament. Not hitting from the outside. I think they had 11 threes all tournament coming into last night. And then within a minute of the fourth quarter, they go on a 7-0 run, and you forget how the ceiling of that team.
Yeah.
And the adjustments that Kid made, were fantastic. They had 3 points for Virginia Tech through 5 minutes of that game, or 5 minutes of that fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Brooke, he showed up to this game in a Virginia Tech hat and a bright orange Virginia Tech hoodie.
Oh wow! Okay, yeah. So you were putting all your cards,
it was more of a personality thing.
All your I'm with them.
Yeah.
I appreciate the
it's content. I wanted to give the people what they want, and I honestly, in the rage of all my emotions flowing. There's a little 5-year-old there who's screaming her head off with me.
Oh, she's had a great time.
That made me. I couldn't be really sad. I'm look how awesome this is.
Yeah. No, I'm so excited. I was so obviously, as a person in the ACC and also just who Virginia Tech is, like the character of their team, the players that they have, the determination you could see from the beginning of the season with, Georgia Amore and Elizabeth Kitley, and then the supporting cast of what their goal was. And it was to win. It was to be great. Like, they were hungry. You could see that. And they did. I mean, they were just a well-oiled machine. And so, but it's all about momentum. As we know, in the game, in the season, I mean, you got to get hot. Miami, they got hot at the right time, at the perfect time, and made a fantastic run. But if you had asked, at the beginning of the season if that would have been possible, people might have been like, not sure. It's just all about momentum. And so sorry, your heart was broken because of that momentum.
I saw the greatest game ever.
Yes.
But I mean, talking about Kenny, like his poise throughout, the entire season, and the way his players trust him. I mean, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
You know so many good coaches in the ACC, and I think the respect. Hearing Wake Forest talk about the types of opponents they have, it's crazy how y'all can go from one night. I think y'all won like 20 plus first time you played them, and the next game it's a 1 point win.
And then they beat us in the ACC tournament. Yeah.
Well, tonight I didn't play.
And tonight I didn't play. But and it's like, I think we have, the coaching just in general in women's basketball, I think is another thing that's really propelling the game. Like, the coaching is so good across the board, and the ACC and Megan coming into Wake Forest and doing what she did. They're a scary team. Like, she is a great coach, and Kenny Brooks, his poise, I have so much to learn from him, and just him being so calm and just staying the course. And, he's a fantastic basketball coach. And so, it's just, I think that's another huge thing. I love, the ACC, the caliber of coaching there. But just across the board nationally, you're seeing, some really good coaches.
Well, I think one thing I love about Virginia Tech, and a lot of teams in the ACC, Miami as well, like, when you hear them talk, they always talk about trust and respect and love, and that's like those are culture things that don't necessarily have to do with basketball.
Yeah.
And I've been able to ask Kenny a lot of questions because they've been winning a lot of games, so I get to go a lot of the press conferences. And I always kind of try to ask, like, how do you do it? Like, how do you have players trust you so much? And the ways I've heard him is like he just lets players come into his office and start talking. And he says sometimes they'll just be talking and then they'll relax and they'll fall asleep while I'm there. And it's like that's like just beautiful to me. I was wondering, what are some of the ways you develop that trust among your players?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is so cool to hear these teams that have gotten this far, and post-game interviews with Kate Clark or Kenny or
anybody
involved. The teams that get this far are the ones that have that they truly have that. And it's just you can't have success without that. I don't care how good your players are. And so I was mentored and coached by Coach Sue, who that was who she was just developing. She was a master in developing relationships with players, and making them feel, making me feel when I played for her, like she cared about me, that it wasn't just about basketball. It wasn't, she knew who I was, and was willing to have those moments like Kenny's talking about, where it's just like you feel comfortable talking and you build that trust. And so, we start with that from day one. We're talking about, just relationships and how not just trusting me, but building those relationships between the players, how they can develop that, how they can really buy in together. It's huge and it's hard. I think it's the hardest thing to do. It's harder than drawing up a winning play, with 0.8 seconds to go on the play. It's like, that's the hard stuff.
I'm wondering how that changed, because you were obviously a long-time assistant coach. You move into the head coaching role, and I'm a high school assistant coach. Everyone who listens to this podcast knows that. But it's always seemed like my players are really kind of afraid of the head coach, and it took a lot of the season for me to convince them, like, no, he's like a very nice person. Like, you can go approach him. When you're the head coach, there's such a different relationship with the player.
Yes.
How'd you kind of navigate,
Yeah.
and I'm especially interested in the players who kind of stayed on
Yeah.
through the transition. How'd you navigate that?
Yeah, it's interesting because it is different, and so again, it's on us as the coaches, the adults, the ones who are there to take care of the players, that we have to be the ones thinking about that and taking initiative to have those conversations to continue to build that trust. So with the players that stayed, it did become, I'm sure they felt that it was a different dynamic, and some of that's okay. It wasn't like I had to just keep being the same assistant coach that I was, but again, it's just time, it's communication, all the things that, like, we get so busy and wrapped up in a scout and recruiting, those things can fall through the cracks if you're not careful. And so it really is just that basic, and really just, and also being vulnerable.
Right.
I think, like, that was the thing. When players would come to me about issues they were having or issues they were having with me, trying to be vulnerable, being open to be like, you know what, you're right, I might have been wrong there. I hear you. That's a huge part of it too, being able to just listen and be open.
And do you have those moments, like, I feel like if you call someone into your office, that conversation's almost dead with the moment they get in, right? Because they think they're in trouble.
Yeah.
So how do you kind of get into be able to talk to them in those informal settings? Like, how do you find those times?
Yeah. I think it's paying attention to them and what's going on in their lives. Like, if you know something academically that, like, oh, they're doing so great in school, or they're, whatever's going on, you're paying attention to their social media, you're listening to what's going on in their lives that you can connect with. Again, it's paying attention. And I certainly wasn't perfect in that, but a lot of times it's just like getting them used to that every time they get a text from me, they're not thinking, oh my gosh, I'm in trouble, what's wrong? It's more like, no, like checking in as regularly as we can. Even if I'm saying come to my office, it's like, hey, come on, let's have a chat. Let's just chat and catch up. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Well, it helps that you build, the whole family vibe. Your daughter's around.
Yes. Yeah.
We know that you wouldn't answer last time we asked who you trust to babysit the most. Didn't let her get in trouble, of course.
I know.
But
That's so funny.
it's still amazing. Like, the one problem I have with the first time that we talked with you is that you kept the secret about Taniya Latson from all of us.
Oh, I know.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, did you expect that?
We expected her to be a major impact. We needed her to be an impact player, right? But with a freshman coming in, you never know, like, how they're gonna assimilate, how quickly. I knew, that she was a great scorer. We needed her to get out and go and run the floor, but she came in and she's so smart, like her IQ and just her ability to just her feel and adjustment, like on the fly. And she took the summer, and the summer was that adjustment process, and then it just happened.
You bring out that feel, and I mean, that's something that is not always teachable. It's something that you can grow from experience and whatnot, but the players that have it mixed with the talent, it's special.
It's special.
I mean, like, there were games watching her play. The NC State game, specifically.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh my God.
For example, yes.
It was like tantalizing. I mean, it was like when Caitlin Clark does the thing Clark does. It's straight up beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's like she's moving at a different speed.
Yeah. And for freshmen to do that, it was just phenomenal. And, she has a drive. Like, you can see in certain players, all players have a drive, but there's just some that are separating. Caitlin Clark, the best example we have right now of that drive. That it factor, that X factor, I would say, of just like, they're so driven, and they're driven in the right way where they can figure it out. It's not just blind, like, passion and I'm just gonna go, and it may or may not work. It's no, I'm like laser sharp focused to understand how I can get what I need to get, how I can score, what's the defense doing, how we can win. And that's the biggest thing is like Taniya wants to win. It's not about her, it's about winning. And so
being injured had to kill her, like emotionally, I'm sure.
yes.
But I mean, I think about some of the games that were lost this year by y'all, and learning from that and getting that experience of adversity from someone like her who's been elite for so long and then comes into one of the best conferences in the country and is still elite.
Yeah.
Has to be so good for her development.
Yeah.
And for everybody else on the team to trust her.
Yes.
Did it take long for her to build that leadership role?
I really didn't because it just happened so organically, like we were all watching it unfold before our eyes. She came in, she's such a humble person. She came in just, worked really hard in the summer, like just was trying to figure it all out. We had to tell her to stop. Like she would do her amazing moves and like, and these are in summer workouts and she'd be like at the rim and she'd kick it out. We're like, no, like she was that kind of a player where it was just like, no, like you can do this. You need to do this for us. And she was still she was one of our best facilitators all season. She had a positive assist to turnover ratio. She was second, I think, on the team in assists, second or third in assists. And to do that, again, to have that ball in your hands that much, to be a freshman, to have that pressure on you, everybody was on board because it happened organically, and she started from a place of humility.
Was there a moment this year where you remember, like, either you looking at your staff or just thinking, okay, this one is special? Like, when did you realize, like, we got something really special?
Oh my gosh. Well, there were two moments. One was in the preseason still when we did our first full scrimmage against the scout team. Okay. And she had 25 points. And we had a really good scout team. Like these guys were like, and every day I'm like, you guys, like, oh, we need to be able to defend you. Like, stop, but we won. It was a close game. We scored in the 70s, like, and she had 25 points. She was a huge part of that. We were like, okay, wow, good. And we, then we went up and played Kent State. Okay, and Kent State was a really good team. It was their first home game. They had a great environment. We were down 2 players. We didn't have Jazz Massengill, who was our, it was one of our starters, senior leadership, and Omaria Gordon, who was another guard. And I think we went to we beat it. It was close. I'm not sure I don't think we went to overtime. Maybe we did. It was so long ago. So much has happened.
A lot of games.
I guarantee if you lost the game, you remember.
Yeah, oh no, we did not lose. We won. But Taniya had 30. She was scored in 30s and just took, like, was one of those moments she took the team on her back. She fouled out, you guys. She fouled out with 6 minutes to go, and still, like, we ended up winning, but she had scored almost 30 points or 30 and had fouled out, and we're like, okay. And it wasn't just like one of these games we're winning by 60. It was a close game. She had to make plays, and that was the moment where we're like, okay, like, yeah, this kid's the real deal.
That's
yeah.
That's amazing. No, I just watching her this year was incredible, and like seeing her being out in the ACC tournament was just like devastating.
I know, it was tough, but it was a good, it was a good lesson for me and for all of us that, like, there's some things like you can't control things, and so you got to keep moving forward and do the best you can. I thought our players did a really good job of, like, staying hopeful and competing and not letting it just, like, torpedo us emotionally.
So, and speaking of the ACC tournament, I get to go and sit on court, and so I'm listening to you guys all the time. I'm trying to get everything I can from you guys. And coach, like I said, you're one of the most active coaches. You're out there running laps. Feels like you're playing wearing these giant heels, clapping up a storm. I'm also a very high-strung coach.
Okay, good.
You
understand me.
I have to, like, weigh myself down to the bench so I don't get a technical foul as an assistant.
Yeah.
Have you thought? You mentioned, like, trying to look at Kenny and say, I want to be more like him.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you gotta be you. So, like, is that something you're trying to change, or do you just kind of let it go at it?
To your point, like, I saw myself on the sideline in the weight game, and there was a couple things. I was like, wait a second, I don't remember. I was like kicking. I was like, oh my gosh.
The Brooke clap's always there.
The Brooke clap's always there.
Yeah, that's
so funny.
there was moments
Oh.
where Brooke's on the sidelines defending.
I know.
And your teammate plays though, honestly, sometimes. So I don't know if that's subliminal and
As
they're
a
looking
sixth
at
man. Well, it's so funny. Like, and that was the biggest thing when people ask me, what's the difference between being an assistant and a head coach? And my interim year 2 years ago was like, that was the thing I felt the most. I was like, wow, I feel in every way, emotionally, physically, like mentally, it's like you're playing. Like when you're an assistant, even when you're able to jump up and down, you're not as in it. You just can't be. When you're coaching, you are in it, and it is like you're a sixth player on the floor. Like, and just like the butterflies before the game, the way that when the game starts, you're good. It's the same thing I felt as a player.
Yeah.
You know, and so the same kind of like, it's so fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, I gotta be me, but I will say I got a technical against Miami at Miami.
Okay.
And I was so mad at myself. I've never had a technical in my life.
Really?
And yes.
Well, congrats. You gotta get one.
I gotta get one, but I was so mad because I felt like it was very like, we were up 5, we ended up losing, and I felt like it was just, it wasn't on purpose, and it wasn't good for the game. I learned, I was like, and I had come out of the coaching box inadvertently. I didn't know. I was so mad. I was like, making all these, like, I was mad at the refs, and but the technicals were coming out of the coaching box. And so it was a lesson. It was like, look, like, you do have control over this game, not, in terms of not just the players you put in, the plays that are called, things like that. Got to calm down at times. So I got a lot to learn from Kenny.
But I think that, and actually, I'm going to say the same thing I said yesterday to Coach Jebbia about my favorite line from Dano he's ever told me, because I was texting him throughout the year. Dano, D3 player, defensive player of the year in his conference.
Oh, wow!
I don't play defense anymore.
I know, if you're a good defensive player, you do it for a time and then you can't do it anymore. I'm
Bro,
with
this
you.
guy took 40 charges this season.
That's awesome. Love that.
Coaches love me.
Yeah, heck yeah. 40
But-
charges in a season.
I was annoying.
Yeah.
Right? I was annoying on defense.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Those are the best
I
defenders.
just had to make sure that my now wife in the stands saw me make a few threes a game. That was it.
I love it.
You gotta get the shots up.
You got it, yeah.
You gotta get the shots up.
That's what gets you the
But
attention.
so I was talking to Dano throughout the year, and one of the things he told me was he really appreciated when his coaches were as excited about the good things that he did and as they were about the bad things that he did.
Yeah.
And so I know. Yeah, right. And like I heard you and Sue do a podcast where you were saying you're kind of more of like the bad guy. You're more the person that gets in their face. How do you balance that in terms of celebrating the great things they do now as a head coach, where that's so important, and still being yourself in terms of getting on them?
Yeah, it's a conscious decision every day, and it's so funny. A bunch of my former players are here because they're now coaching, and they were talking about how they've heard from our current players and seen me. They're like, I'm nicer now as a head coach than I was as an assistant, because as a head coach, and that just comes naturally. That's not like a conscious decision, but when you're a head coach, your word and your mood and the way you treat people carries more weight than when you're an assistant. It just does, because you're the head coach, like whatever that title. So I just like intuitively feel that, and like I know that I have to like really encourage these players. That's what they need. They want confidence. So that's what happens. I think I try to be really positive, and but want them to know, like, look, I want you to be better. Like, I'm gonna push you. That's my job. But doing it in never try to do it in a demeaning way or derogatory.
I just think we don't celebrate success enough. And when you say it, like, and I hear it out loud, I do feel, especially I have a dog, giant dog, beautiful dog.
Oh.
But I feel like a dog being rewarded with a treat, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I hear that, but it was also like important to me, like with younger players, like instilling like, hey, you're doing good. I mean, stuff can get real negative when you start out losing. Obviously not with your team this year. Do not start off on a bad note.
Right.
But you faced that adversity. I mean, like you brought up the Miami game. That second half was like bonkers, right? And playing on the road is never easy to begin with, but going through those struggles and finding the good parts, like I would sit through film and just like expect 3 hours of pure hell. You know?
You guys did film for 3 hours.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we were.
How'd you have 3 hours to do film?
When you start a season, sophomore year, started 1-9.
No.
You hit that come to Jesus moment.
3 hours.
I know.
We go 10 to 15 minutes. Like, no, we don't. I mean, attention span, like,
Yeah.
I can't sit and film from where, you know, like, I just, like, we go 15 minutes, like, max on any film, and we're out of there.
Oh, I'd love to hear more about the film. I was asking
Yeah.
everyone before the Final Four about
Yeah.
how they watch film. So
cool.
so you do the 10 to 15 minute team sessions, and then I'm sure you have video coordinators sending out individual
Yeah.
clips. Like, how do you make sure they're all kind of getting the right message from it?
Yeah. Well, it becomes, the assistant coaches, they have their position groups, they have their kids. And so it's about staff communication, like understanding like who's doing film with who, like why, and so we try to like really be very good about communicating that to each other. Hey, I got so-and-so for film today. We're going to talk about this, or I'm going to show her this, or I'm just going to show her clips, and just making sure that we're all, talking about the same things. I'm making sure that everyone's getting touched on the team. But also, like just knowing who we are. I think that's the biggest thing, is like being very clear. That was a great advice that I got of like coming into being a head coach and taking over a program, knowing your identity, establishing your identity as a program, as a team. Who are you? And then everything can flow from there. Recruiting, how you play, messaging, film sessions. So we were very, very clear of who we were going to be as a basketball team, defensively and offensively. And so I think the messaging was able to stay consistent no matter who was talking.
And is that something you like wrote down? Like, you have a sheet of paper that says, who are we? And you have all the things you want to do.
Yes.
And that was the first thing you did when you got
Yeah, that was, yes, that was the first thing, like, in terms of, we decided as a staff, like, and I had a vision for what I wanted us to be, and then we, it was, we're gonna start with defense, and so that was, we had nope mentality on our shirts, and nope mentality is just like, nope, you're not getting by me, like, that's what we wanted our players to be thinking. But anyway, that is our priority, that is, and that didn't mean, we're going to be this crazy defensive press. We weren't. It was just that is what's most important. That's what wins. If we can't do that, then you're nothing in the ACC. And then offensively, it was pace and space. We're going to be the fastest team in the country. We're going to score the most points in the country. And everything flows from there.
Love it.
I do love that. I did not expect. You said it was going to be fun basketball.
Yeah.
But the offensive flow was stunning. I have a super random question, because you also played. For those who don't know. Do the rivalry games as a coach, like, still mean something? Like you still have that extra edge, like when you play Miami?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, it's just, you can't help but not to. There's just like a buzz in the air, in the feel of it. When we play the Gators, when we play Miami, there's always just that extra, you can't help but, feel it. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit more about Miami Florida State.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah. Let's talk.
All right. So I've always tried to describe the Miami Florida State rivalry. It's like, people are like, oh, do you hate Florida State? I'm like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I had some of the best times in my college life in Tallahassee. It's an amazing place to be.
Oh, yeah.
And we lost in football every single year.
Yeah.
Every single year I was there.
Yeah.
So I still had a great time.
Yeah.
But I think the rivalry is very much built on not only just being in a similar place in Florida, but playing similar styles in almost every sport. I feel like basketball teams are similar. And obviously Leonard Hamilton used to coach at Miami.
Yes, he did.
And I don't fault him for everything, but I miss him. Now we have Blair Naga, so it all worked out.
Yeah, it did.
But like, it feels like those two schools, for whatever reason, play the same style in every sport. So when you go up against Miami, are you kind of like saying, this is a game where we're looking in the mirror and like, we have to beat them because of the rivalry, because they like us, we have to just stick it to them?
Yeah, well, I think like, I like Miami's style. I mean, their defensive style and like even their offensive style has been a little bit different. Like, they're more like, in your face. Like, obviously defensively, they want to press. They want to do all these things. Like, they're really fast, scrappy, attacking. But they, we do compete recruiting wise.
Yeah.
I think that's where a
Yeah.
lot of the times the similarities come, is that we're recruiting the same types of players. We are, our systems may be a little different, but the type of player you're getting in there is a lot of times the same. So yeah, and you're battling in our region for people and all that. So there's those similarities.
I love it. And I'm sure Katie Meyer is competitive on the recruiting trail. I'm sure she.
They're awesome. They're
outwork
pros. Yeah, she's awesome. I love Katie Meyer. I respect her so much. Like, she's a great person, obviously a phenomenal basketball coach. And Miami's a great school. Yeah, I mean, the Gators, University of Florida, Miami, the rivalry is built on respect, for me at least. Like, I respect these places as universities, and programs and sports programs. I mean, like, how can you not? They're good, So that's why it feels even better to be able to beat them, and they're your rivals because they're good.
No. I remember a couple of Miami FSU everything games. We lost a lot. I remember one time though, Natasha Howard.
Oh.
Yeah. Do you remember this game? She had I'm sure it was only 34 points. It felt like she had 1,000 points and 1,500 rebounds.
She tended to do that. I know.
She absolutely crushed us. And I was sitting on the radio having to call this game. I was like, I don't know what to say.
What do you say? I miss those days.
Every rebound.
She does. She was so good. But there's so many heated battles every year with Miami, and having to play at home and go, it's a home and home. That also lends to the whole rivalry. Getting to play it. And there's been years too when we've played them for a third time, like we did Wake this year. In the ACC tournament, and it's so funny. But I was really, happy for them and happy for Coach Meyer to see, they've never been to a Sweet 16 before. To see them do that, it was really, really cool.
It was cool, and hopefully you're gonna have that moment soon. And hopefully Miami and FSU.
Yeah, let's have everybody go to the Sweet 16.
Let's just take over the Sweet 16.
All ACC.
All ACC.
Yeah, come on, let's just do it.
Yeah. We'll do it in Greensboro too.
Yeah.
So you're here for Moms and Coaching, which you spoke to us about before.
Yeah.
So we know you have a daughter, and we have Southern Hospitality here in Texas. So we got you a gift. I think it was your birthday recently.
Oh my gosh, yes!
And your daughter,
you
sure.
guys!
So can
I open? You guys!
They're Texas themed.
I love it. This is so cute. Oh my gosh, love.
And then
You
that's for
guys!
your daughter. Absolutely.
Love this. Oh
Everyone
my
needs
gosh.
one. Every kid needs one.
Don't mess with Texas. You guys, thank you. And we got to show the cap with Texas. Love it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So sweet.
So tell us about what's happening today.
Yeah, so we're meeting at 2. We do an annual Moms and Coaching meeting, as you guys know, at the along with the WBCA convention. And so we'll see how many moms show up. There's going to be a lot of women that show up that aren't moms, which I think is cool. And again, that's part of the mission of Moms and Coaching, to kind of normalize it and take the fear out of oh my gosh, can I have kids and coach? So we love when moms or future moms come and kind of get an idea and hear insight. We're gonna have Adia Barnes and Jenny B from Oklahoma. They're both gonna
her daughter's
speak.
famous
Oh,
now.
her daughter's famous. It's perfect.
Superstar.
Those two women, Adia and Jenny, have had moments, in the NCAA tournament. Obviously, when Adia went to the national, championship game, and she was breastfeeding, and those are moments that for us and for me as a mom, and having Jenny's daughter in the stands and showing her family being so passionate about what she does, just brings it full circle for us and shows that, who we are and what we're doing and how important it is.
Can you help normalize having kids for us and well, me coaching Dano, living life, and my wife is she's an attorney. We met in law school. She's so much smarter than me. What's your advice for folks like us who are married?
We talked about this. We're very scared,
very terrified.
But then you start hearing about these stories, and you're like, I need to suck it up a little bit. And obviously, we're being men, we don't have to deal with the same kind of challenges.
Well, either. You guys have no excuse because you've seen these stories unfold. You see what we do.
I know,
so
it's terrifying.
You have no excuse. No, you guys, parenting is terrifying, but it is the best thing ever. And that's all you gotta, it is, It is literally the best thing ever. So you'll be fine. You
Why?
guys are
Why
awesome.
is it the best thing ever?
Oh my gosh, it's just it's a love that you've never like. Literally, when that child is born, it's like you instantly love this thing like you've never loved anybody, even your spouse. You know, it's just like it's a different type of feeling. And so from there, the terror, the fear flows because you never want anything bad to happen to that thing. But also the amazing moments as they grow, as they do things, as you see their brain form. I mean, to watch a human brain form, like I'm like, does this has happened to all of us? This is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. So you guys will love it.
Well, we'll see.
Okay, good luck.
We got some years. We got some years before that.
You guys, yeah.
We got a few more coaches, moms and coaching
Okay,
conferences
good.
before
Yeah.
we get there.
Well, you guys are welcome to come and listen in. You know.
I mean, I'm not going to Houston today. There's a chance.
Yeah. Stop
Why
by.
not? And I'll call my mom today. I think I did that last time we spoke.
Yes, definitely. Yes, you should. Yeah, moms, it's a really hard job, but it is also the most gratifying job. I'm partial. You know, dads have special relationships with kids, but like you said, it is different. It's different.
Yeah. I mean, when I see my brother now, he lives in Dallas, so I can see him. I live in New York.
Yeah.
And he's got a 2-year-old girl and a 3-month-old boy. And seeing them live life and the amount of responsibility and then still working, but it's like, 9 to 5 working, not coaching a basketball team.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Like the stress, the anxiety, everything. So much respect.
Well, you can't imagine it, right? I couldn't imagine it until you have to do it. And then when you have to do it, you just do it.
Okay.
You know? So you guys will be fine. When it's your kid, you're good.
And as coaching, I mean, there is kind of an aspect where I feel like it's somewhat easier to have your kid around, like your daughter's part of the program.
Yes,
I feel like that's really special that most people don't get to have. Like your work life is so much of your life, but you don't really get to share that with your kids.
So true. So true. That's the thing. Like when it gets hard, and that's what one of the best things a fellow mom told me was like, man, like for as much as we do miss, as much as we're traveling and things like that, our children experience things like going, when they do get to travel with us, when they do get to be around this amazing group of women, when they do see this, like get to come to the gym, like, right, I didn't do that when I was a kid. Like the experiences that they do get, outweigh a lot of times with the negative side, what we would call the negative side of having to be so busy and living a coaching lifestyle. So.
I feel a little bit better.
Yeah. You don't worry.
Well, we'll slip back into the terror and fear momentarily.
I mean, I want to move to a state with no income tax, like Florida or Texas.
Yes.
Before I have a kid.
Yeah, they are a financial. I don't do it anymore, but when she was first few years when she was born, and like you're spending all this money on all these new things, you're like, for one split second, sometimes you're like, wow, that's a lot of money. What would I have been doing with all this money? Oh, well, I love my child. I'm so glad she's here.
No, it seems very worth it. And I'm glad we got to talk to you about that.
Yes, you guys, deep breaths. It's okay. And you have amazing wives that'll handle most of it, so don't worry.
Well, let's see about that one.
Podcast turn support group.
Podcast, yeah.
Yes,
Men
you guys.
fearful,
There you go. You guys
Wait,
need to
men
do
with
one.
more successful wives.
There you
More
go.
Fearful, I'm very fearful of the situation.
I love it. I can't wait to see how this goes.
Yeah. Well, my parents can't either. They continually ask.
Oh
every
my
day.
gosh, I'm
So
sure.
thankful that I have 3 nieces and nephews.
Right,
It's
it's already been done.
But,
Yeah.
my cousin Vinny, my biological clock is ticking. Like I do hear that a little bit. And my wife's mother has none yet, so.
No, you guys are young. You're men. Your biological clocks are not ticking.
Yeah, we're good.
Believe me,
Yeah.
you guys are good.
We're fine for a while.
Yeah.
No, that was good to hear.
That's awesome, guys.
Yeah, I think we gotta do another podcast about Caitlin Clark and the rest of the Fun Four. But
Oh, you guys, it's so much fun to talk about it. So I appreciate you guys having me to go through it all.
Yeah, I mean, we've already made commitments to travel to Arkansas, Wake.
Yeah.
Got to go to Tallahassee.
Yeah.
We've talked it up a lot.
Oh.
I mean, he reps Florida more than any person I've met at the entire state.
specifically rep the state of Miami, just for the record.
Miami's an awesome place.
Yeah.
It is. It is. It's an awesome place.
But we should go to Tallahassee.
Yeah.
We need to
Come on
mentally
by.
prepare ourselves if we're going for a football game.
I know, football. Yeah, that's the time to come, is at a football game.
Oh, I do have one more question. Sorry,
Yeah.
when we were talking about the team, you like I was listening to Kenny Brooks talk about how his team loves being Hokies. How do you get your team to love being Seminoles? Do you tell them, hey, you should go to the football game, you should go to the softball game,
Yeah.
you should go to the baseball games? Like, are they active in that way?
Yeah, I think it's really just, it comes naturally because there's so many great, across the board, Florida State has really successful sports. Football, our women's sports are amazing. We softball national championships, soccer national championships. Our Sam volleyball goes to the national, so there's a lot of pride in athletics already just built in that you feel. And it's a national brand, it's the Seminoles are known, everywhere we go, it's oh, hey, go Noles, so, and when they get there, our players, they love it there. It's a great place. Tallahassee is a great place. It's great, just homey feel. So I don't have to do much.
Yeah, awesome. All right, I had that thought a while back.
It's a great question.
Thank you so much for
Thank you
doing this with
guys.
us in person. Hopefully we can
So
come to Tallahassee, do it there.
Yeah.
We were talking to doing a one-on-one with Taniya Latson where Gabe coaches me and I get cooked a little bit. Great content.
Let's do it.
I got no help for you on Taniya Latson.
Shoot, yeah.
Yeah.
No, that'd be great. You
We
guys
go
are
so.
welcome anytime.
We go so.
Let's do it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys so
Thanks,
much.
Coach.
Thank you.